Hello everyone and welcome to Azam Sharp channel, and in this video we'll be learning about how to build a complete NearMe application which is going to allow the user to search for a point of interest like a coffee shop or a burger shop, and then we're going to display it on the map as well as in a list. So let's go ahead and first see that what exactly we'll be building. This is the final output of the application. I'm going to go ahead and search for coffee, and as soon as I search for coffee, you can see right over here at the bottom I can see a list of all the different coffee shops near my current location. Now if I actually zoom out a bit, I can also see different coffee shops. So basically it's the same exact coffee shops, but they are being displayed in the map as annotations. So there we go. Now if I go ahead and search for, let's say, burgers, you can see there are different burgers. Obviously in California there is In-N-Out Burger, and you can see over here in this list we will have In-N-Out Burger, Five Guys, and many different kind of burgers. All right, so let's go ahead and get started for creating our NearMe application. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Well, the first thing we need to do is we need to add some sort of a Z-stack or some sort of an interface that can display a map view as well as a text field, right? So I'm going to go ahead and remove the text bar or the text view and replace it with the Z-stack. The reason I'm using a Z-stack is that I want to put the map, but I also want to display the text field over the map. And that's the perfect place where you can use Z-stack because it is going to put stuff on top of each other. So I'm going to go ahead and start with a text field, and the text field is simply going to say search, and for the text we are going to say $search because we will have some sort of a property, a state property, which will be called search. So whenever we type in the search, it's going to go to the search property, which doesn't really exist right now, but we are going to create it. On editing change, do we have to do anything over here? Not really, so we're kind of like going to skip that. And after that, the final thing would be the actual commit. All right, so over here, this is the actual commit when the person has actually pressed the return key or something. All right. The other thing that we want to do is we need to set up the text field. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and silence it by creating a search. So let's go at the top. By the way, this video is going to be a little bit long because we are creating the whole application. So you can fast forward, but I suggest that you go along and see how we're doing the things. Okay. So we added the search. Now let's go ahead and build the application. All right, looks fine. So the application is building. Hopefully now we should be able to set up the text field style. And we do want the rounded corner. So I'm just going to go ahead and say rounded border text style. And we're going to go ahead and add a little bit more padding and a little bit more offset, which we'll just go ahead and give with 44. Let's go ahead and save it and try again so that we can see our view being rendered. Let's go ahead and make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so this is what it actually displays right now. Let me go ahead and select Command A and Control I, a little bit more formatting. Okay, so this is fine. I mean, it's just displaying the search box. Obviously, we don't really have a map view, and unlucky for us, there is no way to get the map view because there is no map view control in SwiftUI. So what we can do is we can use the MK map view. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and create a brand new folder, and I will just call it views. Inside that folder, I'm going to go ahead and add a new file, and Swift file is fine, and this will be a map view, which will be a UI view representable, which basically means that this particular map view that we're going to build will be based on a particular UI view, UI kit element, which in this case will be MK map view. Let's go ahead and start it with import SwiftUI, and we'll also go ahead and import the MapKit because we will be using that. And now we can start. So structure, map view, and we're going to say UI view representable. All right. Now, for a UI view representable, you have to implement a couple of different things. One of them is make UI view. All right. Now, this is going to take in a context, so we can go ahead and give it some sort of a context. And what we're going to do is we will be returning a type, which is mkMapView. You can declare a type alias also at the start, but I'm just ignoring that stuff. It's the same thing. MapView equals to mkMapView. That's the actual map view part of the UI kit. Map.showUserLocation. Do you want to see the user location? I guess so. So let's go ahead and set it to true. Map.delegate equals to context.coordinator. Coordinator will be the one that will process all the different functions for the map view, like date update locations and things like that. We don't really have a coordinator right now, but don't worry, we're going to add it later. Let's go ahead and implement the function called make coordinator. This is going to return us something. We are just going to call it coordinator, and it's going to return us coordinator. Let's go ahead and pass in the self. We don't really have any coordinator right now, but we're going to add that. Okay. The other one will be the update UI view, and right now we are not going to do anything over here for right now. Okay. We need to focus on the coordinator. So let's go ahead and implement our coordinator. Now you can create a separate class for the coordinator, like a separate file. I'm just going to write it over here, coordinator, which will be ns object, and it will be using mkMapViewDelegate. There we go. And it will have some sort of a control, and it will be a map view control. And when you want to initialize it, you need to pass in that control, which will be of type map view. And we're going to simply set it up. So self.control equals to control. All right. Now we can go ahead and implement different functions for the map view. Right now, we're not interested in anything, but we can implement did add and map view did select and all those kind of things. We can do that if you want to. But right now, we're simply starting out, so we're not really implementing anything. We just want to see the map displayed on the screen, and that's pretty much it. That's all we want to do right now. Taking, really, really simple, aka baby steps. Okay. All right, so now we have that. Let's go to our content view. There we go. And since we do have the map view, let's go ahead and say map view. Map view doesn't really take anything. Let's go ahead and save it. And you will see that we have placed map view a little bit above the text field. So this means the text field can display on top of the map view. That's the reason of using the stack. And now you can actually see that the map view is getting displayed. So if I go ahead and run this application, you may be able to see the actual map getting displayed. Now it may not display the actual location because first of all it's running in Xcode preview, so it doesn't really know my location. If we run it on a simulator, it will still not show the location because we haven't really configured that. So a couple of different things need to happen before we show the location, but you can see it's actually working over here, right? The other thing I want to do is this search bar is right in the middle, which doesn't really make any sense. So let's go ahead and add the top alignment, and now it looks much better. It's right at the top, right? Okay, so what else do we need to do? Well, we definitely need to get the location. We want to display the location. And if you see our map view over here right now, it doesn't really have any code to, well, display anything. All right. So we do need to show the location. We also need to request the location. And that's the job for a location manager. So I'm just going to go ahead and add a new group, and I will call it managers. The location manager will be responsible for, well, getting the location, and it will be start updating the location also. So location manager. All right, there we go. So we have added the location manager. Import MapKit class location manager, and it will be inheriting from NS object and observable object. So we can get access to the location if you want to. We are going to go ahead and create a actual location manager, which is location manager equals to CL location manager. That's the real one. All right. And we can also get our location, although we're not really using the location, but if you do want it, so we can actually put it over here and you can get the updated location if you want. Let's go ahead and overwrite the init. And inside the initializer, first of all, we're going to go ahead and call the super init. And now we can actually go ahead and set the actual location manager. Now this is the CL location manager, which is responsible for actually getting the location. All right, so the one that we have, location manager, the one that we created, which is right over here, this is the one that's wrapping the other one, the real one. Okay. All right, so first of all, we can't really do that. Line number 20 is basically saying that you're trying to set the location manager delegate to self, and self is location manager, the one class that we created, but it is not conforming to the location manager delegate. So let's go ahead and create an extension. And now some of the people will say over here, okay, why are you creating an extension? I mean, why can't you just do it inside the main class, like inside right over here? And yes, you can do it. I think by creating an extension and extending the location manager delegate or some other delegate, it just makes the code a little bit more cleaner, because we can now read all of this stuff, which is part of the location manager initialization, and we can read this stuff which is all related to the location manager delegate. But yes, you can put all the code that I'm about to put somewhere else also. Okay, so there are a couple of functions that we can implement, although we're not really going to use some of the functions, like this one, which is the did change authorization. We can go ahead and print the status. This is the important one, which is did update location, and we simply assign the location to the location. Whenever we assign this over here, since the location, actually it shouldn't be, well, it's not really marked with publish, but we can publish it. Like we can do something like this if we want to. All right. So whenever the location is set, it's going to publish an event, and we can get the new location. Let's go ahead and build that. Okay, so our location manager is done. That is great. Now it will be a good time to start using our location manager, so we can start tracking the user, and we should also be doing authorization. All right, so let's see how we can do that. All right, so now we can go back to our content view and we can initialize the location. I'm going to close this canvas view because most of the time when you're working with the map view, it will be a good idea to actually run it in a simulator because the Xcode preview doesn't really work as expected. So I'm just going to say over here observed object, and we can go ahead and set location manager and go ahead and initialize location manager. So whenever we initialize the location manager, it's going to go to the location manager class, the one that we build, and it's going to fire all of this stuff. All right. So in other words, it's also going to be asking for permission, which you can see that we are asking right on this particular line. So this is fine, and it's actually good that we're asking for permission, but we also need to set up the permission in info.plist, which we have not set. So let's go ahead and run this, and maybe we'll see an error in the console. Let's go over here. Okay, there we go. So some sort of an error is actually there, which is ns location when it used description. So we need to add that key. All right, so let's go to info.plist, and we are going to add a new key. And we can say NearMe app requires access your location. I mean, this is your custom message. You can actually set it up to anything you want. And let's go ahead and give it a try again. Okay, there we go. That's the dialog box that we were waiting for. And now we can say allow while using the location. And there we go. So that is our location. All right, super cool. The one problem is that this is so zoomed out that I don't even know where I'm standing. So it will be a good idea that if we are zoomed in, so I can at least see some, neighborhood. Okay, so where should we add that code? Let's see, we'll go back to the location manager. And you can see that in the location manager, we have a couple of different things going on. Actually, sorry, we can actually go to the map. Let's see, where should we put that code? Let's see. Location, so not location manager. Although we can use a location manager to do that, we can also, I believe, use map view to do that. All right, so here in the map view, we can implement the function in the coordinator. Sometimes I also get lost, like, okay, where do I have to implement this function? So I'm going to go ahead and implement the did add annotation views, keeping in mind that the view that is added which shows your location, the blue dot, is also an annotation. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and say if let annotation view equals to views.first, and most of the time the first view is or I guess it's all of the time it's always the your view, basically your location. If let annotation equals to annotation view dot annotation, again we're going to unwrap it. Now we can say if annotation, and you can do it in a different way also, and like using guard or something, mk user location. Then we can go ahead and create some sort of a region. All right. Now this region would dictate that how far you want to zoom in or zoom out. And we are saying that the latitude meter is 1000, longitude meter is 1000, which is kind of like the span that we are creating. And you can change that to see how far the zoom that you want. Let's go ahead and run the application again. And hopefully this time it will zoom a little bit so that we will know our surroundings. There we go. Okay, so I'm right over here in the Apple campus. That's pretty good, right? Yeah. Okay, now let's move to the actual text box or the text field. We can enter something over here. Let's say I'm interested in coffee. So I can enter coffee, but it doesn't really do anything. I mean, you can see I still don't know where are the coffee shops. So we need to take care of that. Let's go back to the content view. And over here, whenever we press the return key, this particular, all of this gets fired, the commit gets fired, and we are not really doing anything in the commit. So this is our opportunity to do something in the commit. What we need to do is we need to get the nearby landmarks. Now you can use Google Maps API, and that's going to take a little bit of time to set it up, and it's also going to charge you eventually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a MK local search request, which is part of the iOS framework. So landmarks, there we go. And the first thing we need to do is to create the local search request. So let's go ahead and create that. The second thing that we are doing is we are setting the natural query language self.search. Actually, you can just say search over here. That should be okay. And MK local search is undefined, so make sure that we import MapKit. Let's go ahead and build it again. Oh, yeah, there we go. All right, so now we can use mklocal search. The search is a search term, which is assigning, so basically coffee, burgers, or whatever you want. Now let's go ahead and create the search equals to mklocal search and passing in the request that we made earlier, which is simply request. And now we can say search.start, and it is going to give us a couple of different things. It's going to give us a response error. It's going to give us the error. All right. And now we can check that if let response equals to response, we're kind of like unwrapping it. Let map items equals to response dot map items, which is an array of mk map items. And once we have that, we can assign it to the something called the landmarks, which we don't have. So what we want to do at this point is to assign it somewhere or populate it at least somewhere so that we can display it on the map. But the problem is that we don't really have anything to populate. Like, where should we populate? So I'm going to go over here and create a new group. We'll call it models. And inside the models, I am going to create a landmark model. So let's go ahead and add a Swift file, and I'm just going to call it landmark. So this can be a landmark like a coffee shop or any other thing. And now what I'm going to do is I already have a landmark code, so I'm just going to add that. You can see landmark is created using the place mark. It has an ID, it has a name, it has a title, it has a coordinate. All right. Now, in order to display the landmark, we will also need a landmark annotation. So let's go ahead and add a landmark annotation. So I'm just going to call it landmark annotation. The purpose of landmark annotation is to display that annotation on the map. So you can see it takes in the title, takes in the coordinate, and Initialize uses the landmark, the actual model, and sets these things up. And then later on, we can add this landmark annotation on the map, since it is actually an annotation, which you can see right over here. Okay. Let's go back to our content view. And in the content view, now we can go ahead and create an array of landmarks. So there we go. And now once we get the result from the mklocal search, we can go ahead and assign it to landmarks. So self.landmarks equals to map items dot map. And since it's a map, or aka transformation operator, we can go ahead and return a landmark by passing in the place mark, which will be a $0, the first item dot place mark. So using the place mark, we were able to create an array of landmarks. Okay, great. Okay, so what else can we do? So we are displaying these landmarks, well, not displaying it, we are populating these landmarks, and they are marked with state, which means as soon as you set a new property to landmarks, the render gets fired, and this is our opportunity to feed in the data to the map view, but you can see that the map view currently does not really take in any parameters. So let's go to the map view and maybe update the map view so it can take in an array of landmarks right over here. So now we can pass in an array of landmarks. Great, right? Let's go back to our content view, and we can go ahead and say landmarks, self, well, we can simply say landmarks, I guess. There we go. Okay, so since we are setting the landmarks later on and it's going to pass into the map view, the update function of the map view is going to get fired. And what we want to do in that update function is to put all those landmarks on the map. So we already have a function called update annotations, which is responsible for, first of all, removing all the annotations. because maybe you're searching for burgers, but then after that you want to search for coffees. So we want to remove all the annotations. Then we are going through the landmarks and creating the landmark annotation. Remember, we created that earlier. And since it's an annotation, we can add it to the map. So let's go ahead and call update annotations. And we are going to pass in a UI view, which in this case is the map view. All right. Let's see over here in my content view that if we are calling this function, get nearby landmarks, and you can see we're not. So when you click when you press the return key of the text field, we can go ahead and call self.getNearbyLandmarks. Let's go ahead and build that again. And let's go ahead and run this. Hopefully it will display us the landmarks. We may have to zoom out a little bit, but we'll see. Okay, so what are we searching for? Coffee. And you can see the landmarks are not displaying. Maybe we need to like zoom out a little bit, and there we go. The landmarks were displaying, it's just that we zoomed in maybe too much. All right, so you can set the zoom level from 1000 to something else. Okay, let's search for burgers. Wow, lots of burger places. In and Out. In and Out is actually now in Houston also. Never really been to In and Out in Houston, but they have In and Out. I mean, we have In and Out now. Super Duper Burgers. Okay, very cool. So that's actually the one half of the whole story, right? We still need to work on creating some sort of a list that we can drag up. Not drag up, I guess we can just click on it and it just fills up the whole screen. We click again and it goes back. So we still need to do that. So let's go ahead and work on that now. All right, so next part is to display all the stuff. And for that, we are going to create a brand new view, which will be called the place list view. All right, so I'm going to go to views and I'm going to say new file. And since it's a view, like a SwiftUI view, I'm just going to select SwiftUI view. And let's go ahead and give it a name, place list view. And the responsibility of the place list view is to, well, display all the different burgers or points of interest or coffee shops in a list. That's what it is doing. All right. So let's see if we can actually create that view. Now, I'm not going to be coding the whole complete view, obviously. I will paste it and then we'll learn as we go what exactly is going on in the view, or else this video will be like 10 hours long. Okay. So where should we start? Well, the first thing is, in order to create this place list view, you should pass in the list of or array of landmarks. So we have an array of landmarks. So that's done, right? Now we obviously don't need the text hello world over here. So let's remove that and replace it with a VStack, vertical stack. And we are going to give it some sort of an alignment. So alignment, this will be leading alignment. You can already see that it is complaining on the bottom and also over here. Let's go ahead and put something over here, doesn't matter. Let's go ahead and zoom out a bit. So you can see on the bottom, line number 24, it is complaining because we haven't really passed a particular, particular list of landmarks. So let's go ahead and pass it a list of landmarks so that it can be happy. Okay, so here we go, an array of landmarks. Here we go. We will say landmark. We do have to provide a place mark. We're going to simply say mk place mark, and hopefully it's going to like that, or maybe not. Okay, so we may need to import something else, which is MapKit. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and begin with that. We have a VStack. VStack doesn't really have anything. What we are going to do is we are going to, do we have an empty view over here? We don't have an empty view. Okay, all right, that's fine. But there is already something called empty view, so we can just use that. So we'll start with creating the gestures. All right. And what we will do is we will do the tap gesture. So let's go ahead and add the tap gesture. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want to give the responsibility to the parent to control the tap. So that's why I'm putting the tap gesture. All right. I also want to create a horizontal stack, which is, let me actually see, not this one. You can see already we have a problem over here. So let's go ahead and try to replace it. Let's see if we can fix that. On tab, what do we want to do on tab? Well, let's go ahead and jump here. Not really anything. We don't really want to do anything over here on the tab. So that is fixed. And what we want to do is we want to start with a horizontal stack. So we'll say h stack. And we will start with the empty view. All right. Because what we want is the top to be a little bit more empty, and we can set the frame. So let's go ahead and set the frame, and we can say width will be UI screen dot main dot bounds dot size dot width, and height will be 60. This is kind of like that handle that we're trying to create, and the background view will be color, and you can use any color that you want. So color dot, let's say gray should be okay, but you can change it later on if you don't like gray. That's perfectly fine too. All right. I'm not sure why it's complaining about that. Let's go ahead and build it. Let's try it again. Maybe the Xcode preview is failing. It's very hard to tell what's going on. Okay. All right, so the next thing is that we will add the gesture. So let's go ahead and add gesture, and this will be a tab gesture. So let's go ahead and add tab gesture. And with the tab gesture, we can say that on when it is ended, we can fire self.onTab, the closure that we added, so we can go ahead and fire that. All right. The next part is the actual list, because without the list, well, it will be useless. So let's go ahead and add a list, and we are going to use a list view. Let's go ahead and make sure that this is all nicely formatted. There we go. And we are using a list view in this case, which is going to iterate through the landmarks and going to just write the name in a vertical stack, the landmark name and the title. All right. And it's not going to animate, so that's why we're going to pass in nil, because we don't really want the list to animate when we are populating the list again and again. All right. Okay. The final thing is the actual view, which is the vertical stack, which is right here. We can go ahead and set some sort of a corner radius, let's say 10 or something. All right. Now let's go ahead and try to use this particular place list view. So I'm going to go to over here to the content view. Let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit. And inside the content view, it really depends where you want it to get displayed. So I want it to be right here. So I'm just going to say place list view. And you will see that we do need to pass in the landmarks, and we have to provide the OnTab implementation. So landmarks will be easy because we can simply say landmarks. And for the OnTab implementation, it can become a trailing closure where we can do something. And now you can see that it's covering up the whole screen, and most probably we don't really want it to cover the whole screen. Okay. And we can actually check it out. We can simply say offset, and let's say if I give it, just trying it out, like if I give it 100, what actually happens? There we go. So you can see it's actually moving down, which is great. Okay. All right, so next up would be, we will go ahead and add animation that it will animate a little bit. We'll go ahead and add a default spring animation, and offset will be calculated by a calculate offset function, which we will implement. The calculate offset function is simply going to, well, calculate the offset and give back to you. So let's go ahead and implement that. All right. We may have to say self, I think, over here. Do we have to say self over here? Let's see. Let's go ahead and build that. Okay, so here is a couple of different things. There is no such thing as tapped. We need to keep track of whether it is tapped or not. So I'm going to add a new property, which will be called tapped. And let's see if we can zoom it a little bit. There we go. Let's try it out. You may have to run this, but right now it's fine. You can see. There we go. So right now it's not displaying anything. All right. And when we do tap, this is a function that we have to implement, which is basically what to do when you are actually tapped. All right. So when you are tapped, we are simply going to toggle it. So self.tapped.toggle, which means if it's off, then turn it on. If it's on, off, off, and on. All right. And let's go ahead and run the application. We may have to do something so that it actually appears, well, let's see. Let's go ahead and try it out. So I'm going to say coffee. And there we go, a nice animated. And now you can see, now if I tap it, it covers the whole screen. If I tap it again, it goes back. You can see the radius, it can be adjusted a little bit more if you want to. And what I'm going to do is a little bit zoomed out, and there are all the stuff. You can see all the coffee shops appearing over here. I can tap it, and I can tap it again. Obviously, the colors and everything you can change. If you don't like the gray color, that's fine. You can change it. That's not a big deal. So there you have it. We have created the complete NearMe application using SwiftUI. Wow, that was a long video. Hopefully you have enjoyed the video. And if you want to learn more about SwiftUI, then check out my latest course, SwiftUI Declarative Interfaces for Any Apple Device. This is a 14+ hour course with more than 2,600 students enrolled. And this is the best-selling course. As you can see right over here, we have the best-selling label. Thank you. And let's go ahead and check out different sections and what this course will be covering. We're going to start with creating and combining views, building list and navigation. This is my favorite chapter, or the section, which is understanding state and binding. Extremely important, and you can see that's why it's an hour long. And then we're going to jump into understanding MVVM design pattern, implementing the coffee ordering application in SwiftUI. So this will be integrating with the API, and you will be using MVVM design pattern. You will also learn how to integrate with core data and also core ML, machine learning. All right. And then at the end, this is a really fun section because you're going to learn how to create Apple Stocks application, which is on your iPhone. So you're going to create it using SwiftUI. All of this for an amazing price. Now, if you need to get this course, which you should, check out the link in the description, and you will find the different links for different courses. Click on SwiftUI or any other course. You can also buy multiple courses if you are feeling much generous and if you want to learn different things like Flutter or something, and by using the link. So please use the link in the description. If you use the link, you will get the best deal. And to be really honest, if you use the link, I get to keep a little bit higher revenue, but the deal is so good that you won't really mind. All right. So click on the link, get the best deal, and start learning SwiftUI. I really hope that you have enjoyed this video, and let me know. I mean, I know that I've been creating these different videos a little bit longer, like a longer timeline. I mean, they're running like at least like a 30-minute long now, but they are covering the whole thing instead of like, okay, one section is covered this one section is this, and so on. So let me know how you like this kind of a format. I actually do enjoy it because at one time I can just put the video out, and that will be covering one particular task completely. So that's always good. All right. Thank you so much, and thank you for your support. And hey, go ahead and buy my course. Thank you.